The Nova Hammerdin is a classic build with great AoE and exceptional speed farming. This patch it gained a lot of extra tools with the new single target setup for bossing, so you can actually have great bossing damage with this build. It does require respecking for the bossing setup, so that is a bit of a downside, but if you do it, you triple your DPS, so you actually shoot only one hammer with this setup, and then of course for clearing you go like always full Nova Hammerdin with the full AoE. The gameplay is simple, you spam your hammers and get some physical penetration buffs with shield throw, also gives you frenzy, and then you move around the map with smite or healing hands, so those are your two choices for movement. You need to have a 0 mana cost movement skill, because you will always be pretty much out of mana, so the hammer costs mana, but then when you go out of mana it actually costs 0, so there's no mana management or mana issues with the build. And this build is quite gear dependent, so you want to have throwing affixes on all your gears, so like rings and gloves and stuff like that. So you can still season start with this build. I have done so many times, but I would recommend using the leveling build from max roll and then change into this build. Overall, this build deals way more damage than before for both mapping and bossing. It also really benefits from the WASD movement. You can kite way easier with that. And of course, as a block capped sentinel, it is very tanky. Alright, let's go over the guide. So starting with the skills here. Of course, hammer throw, your main damage skill. And you want to have Endra's Technique and Avatar of the Spire to make it a Nova. And that's how you enable the Nova playstyle. So with these two nodes here. And you also want to get this one for the 0 mana cost. And this gives you flat crit with the Endra's Technique node. So that's why we take the Orbit node. Just other stuff is just more damage. And then the bossing setup. So you want to spec these nodes, Collision and Ricochet. So I show it here in the FAQ as well. The bossing setup, the full tree. And if you have a lot of points, you can even go for this, which gives you crit multi with Endra's Technique. So that way you triple your DPS for bossing, but you only throw one hammer. Of course, you do need to respec for the bossing setup. So the nodes that you want to respec first or like move points out of is Overwhelm here. Avatar of the Spire, so you don't need the Nova node with the single target setup. So this doesn't work with double extra projectiles, so you don't get like massive multiplier from this or anything with Ricochet. So you can take out these nodes first, or if you still need more points, you can also drop some from here. So ideally you have a lot of points, of course, on the build, so you only need to respec these two, for example. Holy Aura, as always on Paladin, passive buffs, so resistance, endurance, poison resist, cleanse, physical damage, increased damage, and then haste, throwing attack speed, pretty simple stuff. And you can also activate this while you're playing, especially like bossing. Symbols, another Holy Aura basically, passive buffs, you don't want to manually activate it, so you get block chance, endurance threshold, damage, and crit chance, so very strong skill, lots of buffs from it. And shield throw, another buffing skill. This one you actually have to use yourself, manually use it. So it gives you physical pen, also increase armor, and then frenzy. So that's the main reason why we use this. Very, very strong for bossing, and you can also, of course, press this while mapping as well, because why not? And then smite for movement skill. So this makes it a movement skill here, and this is 0 mana cost when you're out of mana. So on the build, ideally you want to have a 0 mana cost movement skill. So it's either this one, gives you some attack speed as well, so either this one or healing hands. I have a healing hand spec on the FAQ, so if you want to use that as your movement, that's also an option. But the smite one I like a bit more for this build. Except for bossing, you want to be like hard bosses, like if you need Aberrot or something, like you can use healing hands immunity, so that's better there. Of course, this needs a target, so for bossing it's kind of bad. You can also use unspec'd shield rush. It's a bit clunky to use because you're always basically out of mana with the build. So it just depends on preference. Some people prefer shield rush, some people like the 0 mana cost skills. Passives, quite usual on the Sentinel tree, so we want to get the attack speed here, and you want to have an axe or sword, and of course Eagle Wing axe base is the one we want because it has base crit. And on the Forge Guard here, getting the flat throwing damage, block effect, shred here also, so you don't need to build any shred, you get it from here. And of course taking the block nodes for the easy block chance, same on all of the sources, you can get them, so you get all of those. You get the 5 points here for the threshold and resistance, so some DR, damage with the pen, resistance here, inverse threshold also. Then just this is pretty crazy for throwing builds, so flat damage, frailty, and armor shred, so very high value points. All res with a shield, max out the block points. Crit nodes here, very strong. Holy aura, symbols effect, and then the armor applied to dot, so very straightforward passives. Then for the gear, so this build does want quite a bit of affixes for damage on the gear, so of course all the throwing affixes on rings and also gloves. The weapon affects a decent bit, so of course you want to have the axe or sword, like I said, and then ideally Eagle Wing base for the base crit. And early on, you kind of want to use Bleeding Heart, and that's pretty nice for that. Of course, the throwing damage leech blessing is enough in the end game. So then you can just go Nihilist, or you can also use Auroras, of course. So Amulet slot is always very flexible in that way. Many good choices. But Nihilist +2 skills helps with the respecking and everything like that. Just very strong damage and stats. And gives you another source of frenzy, which you can also use to have higher uptime with the like in combo with the shield throw buff. And yeah, weapon Eagle Wing, just damage stats, very strong. For the chest and helmet, always try to get the correct base, so armor applied to dots and then reduce crit. Other than that, just the usual HP and throwing affixes. Sealed armor shred effect for just easy, basically capped armor shred when you combine this with the node from the passives, and then a little bit of armor shred here is also nice, so you have a very high armor shred stacks on the enemies. For the unique, so shield is OP, this one. Block effect applies to damage over time, very strong. A lot of mitigation, high block chance, very good. And this relic is just for you to have an easy slam with your guaranteed LP slam. So this gives you HP and strength, and then you just slam +4 hammer throw on it. So we don't need anything like a specific, like a resistance base or like anything like a sentinel base. There's really no other crazy uniques here. So this is just easy, get 1 LP, boom, +4 hammer throw. Of course 2 LP you can just also get the flat throwing on it. So this is very effective, very efficient, easy to get. And then gloves, lots of damage from this. So you want to have 2 LP ideally for like double prefix, and then a good roll on the throwing crit multi, lots of damage. Boots, fast, +2 throwing, pretty simple stuff. Even has haste effect, which is very good with the aspirational when you have the relic, so you have haste effect and perma haste. Belt, +1, movement speed, attack speed, good, easy to get, low LP. And Flames of Midnight, so this is just for the swiftness, so 20% movement speed at level 100. Just speeds up the build quite a bit, so we don't get anything from the penetration affix, of course, because we are not fire, necro, or void, we are physical, but very good ring. And then Oseron for even more damage, gives you chill, shock, more damage per shock, less damage taken, so this is very good for the damage. If you need crit chance, which you won't really need if you have Eagle Wing, but you could also use Phantom Grip, of course. So this ring gives you base crit and increased crit, so you could use that instead of the Flames or Oseron, for example, but you won't need the extra crit from this if you have everything as shown here. And for idols, throwing crit multi, block effect idols, so 4 of these, and then ideally crit chance, crit multi, enchant, and then you can also get less damage over time taken while using a shield for the other enchant. And then the rest are small Weaver idols with physical pen prefix, so quite a bit of damage from these. and then resistances. So if you need more resistance, of course the suffix can have resistances. So you can just use however much you need, and then reduce bonus damage taken and increase crit would be the optimal one, so with optimal resistances and everything. For aspirational, using Shattered Worlds from Uber Aberrot, so perma haste, frenzy effect, crit, it's just insane stats from it basically. And like I said, perma haste with this, you are very, very fast, so it's like 150% movement speed always with this setup. Otherwise, it's the same stuff, just with more affixes, more LP, higher exalted basically. So yeah, that's the build overall. Very fast, great AoE, long range, and now even has good single target DPS with the bossing setup. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.